of the season, his second start of his major league career, and he'll face righty Landon Roop. 5-5 for the Giants so far, a 3.30 ERA. San Francisco comes in with a record of 23-36. Brewers coming in with a record of 35-21. Welcome on in. I am Hunter Baumgardt and happy to be with you for the next hour to give you everything you need to know before the Brewers take on the Giants at American Family Field. 6:40 first pitch, game one of a 4-game series, as I mentioned. You can feel free to interact with us a couple of different ways on the NicoletLaw.com talk and text line at 877-794-1973, or you can get in touch with us where we are streaming live on YouTube, Facebook, and X. Search Fox Sports Radio Wisconsin on YouTube. Make sure to subscribe so then you always know when we go live. Subscribe to that Fox Sports Radio Wisconsin YouTube page, and you can watch these shows each and every day and every show we have. And also feel free to follow me on any socials at Hunter B on Air on Instagram, TikTok, and X at Hunter B on Air for reports from the park all season long. And also on Facebook, Hunter Baumgardt Sports on Facebook as well. You can give it a like there. So excited to be talking about a Brewers team that just completed a month of May in which they went 19-7. We're going to get to that May record and what was kind of behind that and what it means going forward into June here in just a moment. But let's start how we always start, and that is getting you the starting lineups for both of these teams. Giants coming in, as I mentioned, 23-36. This is how they are going to line up here tonight. Leading off in left field, Casey Schmidt. Batting second as the DH, Rafael Devers. Batting third at third base, Luis Arraez. Cleanup hitter, the shortstop, Willie Adames. Batting fifth in right field, Young-Hoo Lee. Batting sixth at third base, Matt Chapman. Batting seventh at first base, Bryce Aldridge, the youngster. Batting eighth and behind the plate, former Brewer Eric Haas. And batting ninth in center field is Jonah Cox. For the Giants, it's Schmidt, Devers, Arraez, Adames, Hooley, Chapman, Aldridge, Haas, and Cox. Now for the Milwaukee Brewers, coming in with a record of 35-21. Here's how Pat Murphy is going to be lining up his 9 tonight. Leading off as the DH, Christian Yelich. Batting second in center field, Jackson Chourio. Batting third at second base, Bryce Terang. The cleanup hitters, the catcher, William Contreras. Batting fifth and in left field, Jake Bauers. Batting sixth at first base, Andrew Vaughn. Batting seventh in right field, Sal Frelick. Batting eighth at third base, Luis Rengifo. And batting ninth at shortstop is David Hamilton. For the Brewers, it's Yelich, Chourio, Terang, Contreras, Bauers, Vaughn, Frelick, Rengifo, and Hamilton. So Yelich continues to stay at that leadoff spot. Jake Bauers is in left field tonight. Andrew Vaughn is at first base. So you have your A offensive lineup, right? You talk about Mitchell not being in there. Bauers is in there. Frelick is in there. Chourio is in there. That's your outfield. Bauers in left, Chourio in center, Frelick in right, DH Yelich. So you get Yelich in there, you get Chourio in there, you get obviously Terang, Contreras in there, you get Bauers in there, you get Vaughn in there. You love your top 6. And then you get to the bottom 3, and that's Sal Frelick, Luis Rengifo, and David Hamilton. And the interesting part about it is we're going to get to the offense a little bit later in the show because I want to kind of look at a couple of players that are scuffling quite more than maybe you would think. And maybe yesterday's 2-0 win is a good example of it. But Sal Frelick has not had a good 2026 so far through a couple of months into the season. Now, I know there's 4 months left of the season. There's plenty of time for him to pick it up. But this is a guy who hit 288 last year. And his batting average right now, as we sit, is 214. Is there a chance that maybe you see a Garrett Mitchell in for Sal Frelick at some point? Not, every day necessarily, but at some times, would you see maybe a Mitchell in right field? We'll see. We'll get into that here in a little while. But how are the Giants coming into this one? They snapped a 5-game losing streak yesterday with a 19-6 win over the Rockies. Absolutely. The offense came early and often for the Giants yesterday, a 19-6 win over the Rockies. But the Rockies still took that series. The Giants have lost 9 of 12 coming into this game. And so this is just an overwhelmingly disappointing start to the 2026 campaign for the Giants. And at what point can you say it's not a start, right? They're almost 60 games in. That's about, more than a third of the way into the season. They've played 59 games so far with that 23-36 record. This is a team, and when I just read off that top 6 in that lineup, it's like, how is this team 13 games under 500? Like, look, it's like Devers batting second, Luis Arraez batting third, Willie Adames, the cleanup hitter, Matt Chapman is in there. And this team is 13 games under 500. And part of it is it's a mixture of everything, right? Bullpen, starters, offense, all that. But they just are not getting exactly what they probably expected when they signed a lot of these players when it comes to the San Francisco Giants. You look at their lineup tonight and you look at some of the statistics within that lineup, and the averages on the outset are like, okay, it's not horrible. It's Casey Schmidt batting 294 as the leadoff guy, right? Now, Rafael, 353 with 7 home runs. You probably would want a little more home runs in him. Luis Arraez, the guy always hits for average to 321 average. So it's not like they're not getting production out of their guys. Eric Haas, the starting catcher tonight, a 281 batting average. But they just have not put it together. And it's just a matter of, I heard someone who does radio in San Francisco earlier today talking about kind of the tension all over the place. And Tony Vitello, hired out of University of Tennessee to take that job, that managerial job of the San Francisco Giants. And it just has not worked so far. And of course, I'm not saying that college managers can't transition to the major leagues, but I mean, Pat Murphy did it, but Pat Murphy was also had experience in San Diego, and of course had a lot of experience as the bench coach for Craig Counsell before he took the helm in Milwaukee. Learned a lot. If you ask him about it, he learned a lot, and so that was the case. Like, it took him a while to. The major league game is just very different, and maybe I'll ask Murph sometime this week about that, just about not the job that Tony Vitello is doing, but more so that transition of how it can take a while to learn the major league game. And so maybe that'll be a discussion for later in the week, but it just has not gone very well for the Giants so far this year. On the flip side, the Brewers have absolutely been hitting their stride record-wise, but, and we'll hear from Murph in a second talk about this. They're not playing incredibly great baseball. Like, the pitching is really, really good. Starters, relievers, everybody. It's been quite impressive for the Brewers throughout the first couple of months of the season as we head into June and June 1st being today. But they're finding ways to win. And I think so far that might be the phrase of the season, finding ways to win. They found ways to tread water when they didn't have guys like Yelich, Vaughn, Churio in that lineup. They've found ways to win games when they don't have Woodruff and Priester and Henderson in the starting rotation. They've found ways to win, and I think that might be the phrase of the season so far, because you ask Pat Murphy, and he'll tell you, even with a 19-7 May that they just had, best record in baseball in the month of May, and 35-21 on the season, 4.5 games up on the Cardinals in the NL Central, 5 up on the Cubs. As we sit here going into play tonight, Pat Murphy's still like, yeah, we're not playing great. And you'll hear from him in 3, in 2, in 1.
I'm proud of the guys in so many ways, and I trust them. I've said that. We're not playing great baseball. I don't think anybody in there believes that we're clicking on all cylinders, but we've proven that, we can play winning baseball. We've done just enough in some cases. We've risen to the occasion every time in terms of we haven't been blown out too many times. We haven't been blown out consistently. If we ever didn't have a great, game or something, we bounce back pretty good. So the resiliency part is there. The competitive part is there. We're not playing great.
Yeah. Has the edge that you require been there consistently? Not consistently,
no.
Very quickly to say no to Sophia Minner when asking about the edge there. And, look, he starts there. It's not like he starts with, we're playing horribly, but it's more like, I trust the guys and I'm proud of the guys in a lot of ways. And Me too. I mean, they're finding ways to win, and I would be in his position, proud of the way they have just been able to do that. But yeah, they're not clicking on all cylinders. They don't have that edge that he's talked about. I think at times you've seen the edge, but again, he said at the end, it's not. I've not seen that edge consistently. I think at times you've seen it. I think what McGill has brought you, in that Houston series, get those couple of saves in that, the 2-0 win yesterday and the Friday night win, it just in 10 innings, just sensational. When you talk about what McGill did on Friday night, Ashby, Uribe, and McGill being able to do what they did and hold the Astros off the board while the Brewers came back and won that game. Just outstanding work. And that is the type of thing that has led to that 19-7 mark in May. It wasn't necessarily, and he's like, we haven't gotten blown out. They haven't gotten blown out a lot, but they also haven't blown out a ton of teams all the time. Like, it hasn't been, you look at their May schedule, you look at, let's just take a look at some of the scores, right? And as much as, yes, Pat Murphy's right, they haven't been blown out a lot. They also haven't blown out a lot of teams. 2 4-3 wins against the Yankees, a 2-run win against San Diego, 2 1-run wins against the Twins. Honestly, you could almost argue the Cubs series was their most dominant series of the month. Cardinals series, yes, although you were no hit for 7 innings of one of those. I think the Brewers, the most impressive series of May was the Cubs series, because you went to Wrigley and you just absolutely outscored them 19-5. Your pitching was sensational. Your offense was pretty good. You scored at least 5 in every game, had the 9-run output in game 1. The only time you were really blown out within the month was the 11-3 loss on Saturday, May 23rd against the Dodgers. Now, you also did dominate the Cardinals at home, but again, you were no hit for 7 innings in that series finale. You kind of got you back, get back win there. But again, a lot of 1-run victories. And I'm not saying the 35-21 record for the Brewers right now is fool's gold. I'm not saying that at all, because I think it's a really solid team, especially when you have the 1-2 punch of Miz and Harrison on the mound and the amount of games they've been able to win with those two on the mound. I mean, you could score 2 runs and be okay in a Mizorowski start because he can throw 7 shutout innings with not his best stuff yesterday. Like that this team has a lot of talent. Uribe and McGill are starting to really show what we've seen from them in the past. That's huge. Ashby's been one of the best relievers in baseball season long. The wins speak for themselves and on his ledger and how he's led to wins. So there's a lot of talent here, but you also have, Bryce Terang in a slump right now, and Churio hasn't been totally clicking, and obviously Frelick has been way down from what he gave you last year. But you're finding ways to be at the end of the game with a couple run lead, whatever it happens to be, and you're winning those games, which is different than early April, when if you had a lead in the 9th inning, it wasn't very safe, or a lead late, whatever it happened to be. It wasn't. You remember the Blue Jays series, you remember the Nationals series, right? Those series where you gave away some games, and that was just not things we had been used to watching this Brewers team year in and year out. Because it had been, get to the back of that bullpen and you're good. You're starting to feel that again. Ashby in the 7th, Uribe in the 8th, McGill in the 9th. And you saw that work pretty much to perfection in Houston. Uribe was able to work around, an error, and McGill was able to get, with a runner on second, nobody out in the 10th inning, not let him score on Friday night. Then, of course, get the save yesterday. So while this team is 35-21, I get where Pat Murphy is coming from in the fact that they're not clicking on all cylinders, and that's what makes it scary if they do get clicking on all cylinders, because then you're talking kind of what this team did last year in the winning streaks and everything they did last year. But again, it's all about winning series. You took 7 series. You lost 1 series in May, and that was the Dodgers series. And otherwise, you, as the kids say, ate and left no crumbs in May. Let's hear from you on YouTube, Facebook, and X. Appreciate you chiming in. Charles, let's see. Charles says the Giants do have some big names in that lineup. Sure hope they can continue to be underwhelming tonight. I agree. You and me both. Kevin said, yeah, that national series made me pause a little bit. Yeah, no doubt. And of course, they kind of got revenge on them, taking 2 out of 3. And the one loss to the Nationals on May 3rd was a 1-run loss. But yeah, that's getting swept by the Nationals was, significant. I was hearing Jake Bauers' comments yesterday, and he kind of said that the 6-game losing streak was a little bit of a wake-up call. I mean, this team got out to an 8-2 start in their first 10 games, and then they lost 6 in a row, and all of a sudden they're sitting at 500 at 8-8 on the season. But then they get 2 1-run victories over Toronto. Then they win a series in Miami, and then you're like, okay. But then they lose a series to Detroit, that walk-off home run in the finale of the series. And then you lose 2 out of 3 to Pittsburgh. But since then, they've lost 1 series, and that's since April 26th. So it definitely gave you pause, and I think it kind of woke up the team a little bit from what Jake Bauers said yesterday of like that national sweep was right in the middle of that 6-game losing streak. They lost 2 out of 3 to Boston. They lost a sweep they got swept by the Nationals and then lost the series opener to Toronto. And a couple of those games were Trevor McGill tough games. But Trevor McGill got his mojo back when he started, having a back and forth with the Blue Jays dugout on April 16th. And since then, he's been absolutely dynamite with an ERA around 1. So it's really, really, really good, what the Brewers have done. And to think that they can still be clicking on all cylinders and be even better is awesome. Lex says the opponents they played for the most part and still went 19-7 with the offense not gelling. The offense will pick up. Yeah. Well said. I mean, again, we've talked about it before, but the opponents in May, to have the best record in May in baseball and look at the opponents they played. Yankees, one of the best teams in the AL. Dodgers, one of the best teams in the NL. Cubs were one of the best teams in the NL to start the month. Obviously, high expectations for them. Padres, one of the better teams in the NL. Cardinals, second place in the division right now. I mean, the only Minnesota, Washington has actually been hovering around 500, and Houston was playing better as of late when they came into that series, but Brewers were able to get a couple of victories there. So an impressive month of May, and they're pitching 2.52 ERA in the month of May for the Milwaukee Brewers. So very, very good. All right, let's give you a little bit of a few updates when it comes to injuries. So no roster moves today, so no news of the day there. But let's get into where some of these pitchers are at. Over the weekend, you might have heard Quinn Priester's rehab assignment was transferred from Nashville to Arizona, where they can have a little more control over how much he pitches and where they want him specifically in games without having to affect the entire pitching staff of the Nashville Sounds. And Priester was on board with the move, so that's what they're going to do. They're going to send him to Arizona. He's not close to coming back right now. I mean, that's all signs are pointing to that at the moment, that it's going to be a while. So he's now going to Arizona. We'll see how long it takes there and kind of what the steps will be for Priester in Arizona and when we can expect kind of, maybe an outcome of some sort, whether it's good or bad at some point. But they still think they can get away without having surgery, obviously. And that's why they are going to Arizona with Priester. Brandon Woodruff, as I mentioned last week, in case you missed it, I think the Brewers and Brandon Woodruff kind of had targeted last Wednesday, that series finale against the Cardinals, for him to come back and pitch. It seemed like, from what Pat Murphy said, that was kind of what they were targeting, and then they were kind of caught in a bind because came Monday, and he did his bullpen and didn't really feel totally ready, and they obviously want to be a little cautious. And so what they went with is obviously the Chad Patrick, the Shane Drowan, kind of the bullpen day on the series finale. Ended up winning that game 2-1. But what is the next step for Woodruff coming into today? Said it this morning on the huddle that we knew Brandon Woodruff was going to throw a live BP at some point. That means facing hitters, kind of in a live setting. And what were the details on that? Let's hear from Brewers manager Pat Murphy on that.
Bullpen today, he'll throw. Wednesday, he'll have a live. Okay. That's what's scheduled.
Is that the final step?
No, I think there's going to be something after that.
Is it after making that decision that kind of prolonged this a little bit? Is it all going according to plan?
Yeah, no, it seems good. We're anxious to get him back out there. We're thin.
Yeah.
with all Henderson out, we got him out. We all know about Priester. Can you throw in a couple other pitchers we have out?
Would Woodruff need any sort of rehab assignment, anything like that, or could he go straight from?
Yeah, I mean, it's really going to be a collaborative decision between us and him. But if he gets his 3 ups on Wednesday, maybe there's another one to ensure, because last time he did it, he didn't bounce back as good. So we want to get those 3 ups again and see where he's at. And we'll look at the next step then. I mean, I'd love to have him back as soon as we can. But I think we're wishful thinking based on the last time we did it.
Yeah, it sounds like they were kind of wishful thinking when thinking he could come back in the series finale against the Cardinals last Wednesday. But it is interesting. Originally, they said they don't think it'll be a rehab assignment, and they didn't think this was going to be super long. When he left that game with dead arm, that's April 30th. We're a month into this now. So, again, you kind of to keep perspective on it. He doesn't think the live BP on Wednesday is going to be the final step. Now, do I think he'll go to Nashville and make 5 starts? No. I think if he went to Nashville, he'd make 1 start probably and probably be okay. But it's about bouncing back, as always, right? With these pitchers, it's not necessarily about how it goes or the results, but about how they bounce back. So Woodruff, live BP Wednesday, and then we wait and we see after that. Some good news when it comes to Logan Henderson. He went on the IL with the low back strain last week. This is what Pat Murphy had to say when asked about Logan Henderson's back and how it's progressing.
Very well, actually. I think everything goes right. We'll see him start playing catch here soon.
There you go. Might see him play catch here soon. So, but he said it's progressing very well. So that is good news. No doubt about that. So those are a couple of injury updates from today when it comes to those 2 guys. And we will see what those, again, we'll keep you posted all week long as they're home here through Thursday. Now, according to Adam McAlvey of MLB.com, Brandon Lockridge pushed to 85 to 90% with his running today, and provided he bounces back well, he will take some ABs against Woodruff on Wednesday when Woodruff does his live batting practice. So that would be fantastic. All right, when we come back, we are going to get into tonight's pitching matchup a little bit and kind of look at the rest of the week as far as what the pitching plan could be. Kyle Harrison will start tomorrow for the Brewers, and then Wednesday and Thursday are both TBA as of now. What could the plan be? We'll take a look at that a little bit and dig into Shane Drowan, who is making his 2nd start of the season coming up tonight. And you'll hear a little bit of my conversation recently with Shane Drowan. Some things that you, in case you missed it last time we played it on the show, it's still relevant, and a few things he's learned about the organization and kind of his role. We'll get into that here in a little while as well. And, of course, continue to get you everything you need to know before the Brewers take on the Giants. Game 1 of this 4-game series at American Family Field. I'm Hunter Baumgardt. This is the Baseball Pregame Show, presented by Import Minded on Fox Sports 920.
the Baseball Pregame Show on Fox Sports 920. Presented by Import Minded, your trusted choice for exceptional vehicle care on South 27th, just north of 894. Here's your host, Hunter Baumgardt.
Brewers and Giants at American Family Field, 6:40 first pitch. First meeting between these two clubs this season. Giants coming in 23-36, underwhelming there in that NL West. 13 games under 500. Brewers coming in 35-21, 19-7 record in May. That was the best record in baseball in the month of May. Pitching on the mound tonight for the Milwaukee Brewers, Shane Drowan, 2-1 with a 2.63 ERA, making his 12th appearance, second start of the season. And Landon Roop is on the mound for the Giants, 5-5 with a 3.30 ERA. And so let's start with Shane Drowan. Shane Drowan came over in the Caleb Durbin trade along with Kyle Harrison and David Hamilton. Obviously, we all know what Kyle Harrison has done. So it's interesting, but against the Giants, who acquired Rafael Devers from Boston, and some of the package was Kyle Harrison, but they are actually going to face Shane Drowan and Kyle Harrison in this series back-to-back nights. Shane Drowan making the start here tonight. And Drowan has made his last 10 appearances out of the bullpen after his major league debut, which was a start in Boston on April the 8th. And that was a day he went 2 2/3, 3 earned runs, 4 walks, 2 strikeouts, 63 pitches. Very cold day in Boston, if you remember back on April 8th. And he'll mention that in the interview I had with him in the Brewers clubhouse, of just wasn't his day, didn't have the feel. And it was tough because it's a major league debut. You want it to go really, really well. But unfortunately, that just wasn't the case. But since then, he has been fantastic in his relief appearances. And that ERA sits at 2.63 on the season. So he has been a significant contributor. He's come in and pitched a lot as far as, sometimes he pitches 3-4 innings. Sometimes he pitches 1 inning. And his last outing was last Wednesday against the Cardinals when he came in on the bullpen day, pitched 2 innings, no earned runs, no walks, a hit and a strikeout. So overall, he has been a welcomed addition to that Brewers bullpen as a lefty. Now he's going to try to make his second start and see where it goes starting wise. This is what Pat Murphy had to say about Shane Drowan when I asked him about him, just what he's learned about Drowan as a person here so far while he's been at the big league level.
Yeah, I've really come to really respect him, trust him, like him. Yeah, he's been terrific for us. He's really unassuming, humble. I think he's a major league pitcher. I think we got very, very lucky.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know if it's just lucky necessarily. I think the Brewers are very good at going out and getting guys that they think will fit their mold, and he definitely fits their mold. And he has been with the major league club for the majority of this season. And when he was called up in April, first he didn't make the opening day roster, if you remember. And they kind of told him, hey, you're a major league pitcher. You're going to help us at some point. And it was pretty quick. April 8th is when he made his start. And then since then, he has been mainly up at the big league level. So I want to bring back the conversation I had with Shane Drowan. And it was about probably not too long ago, maybe a week. It was last homestand. I talked to him, and I know we played it on a show, but I kind of trimmed it down to the best 4 minutes of the interview as far as what is most relevant going into tonight's start. And I thought, in case you missed my conversation with Shane Drowan, here it is, about 4 minutes of conversation in the Brewers clubhouse.
Shane, first question for you. Been in this organization now a few months. How have you enjoyed your time and just kind of gotten to know this organization and how they work?
I mean, it's been great. I feel like they've just really helped me kind of like lean into being myself and who I am. And I feel like it's, really helped produce results on the mound. Just going out there, feeling really confident in myself and just executing pitches.
In what ways do they encourage you to be yourself out there?
I think they kind of really early on, they just reiterated of like how like I was ready for the big leagues. I was going to pitch in the big leagues. I was going to do well. There wasn't like any sense of feeling of like, oh, I needed to do I needed to do more. I needed to add another pitch or, make a pitch, 10 times better or anything like that. It was just like, hey, you're ready right now. It just comes down to executing pitches.
Mm-hmm. How, I'm guessing that could be pretty freeing when you hear that, in camp, and then you obviously see yourself in the big leagues. Then it happens, you get results. I'm guessing that's kind of a more freeing feeling to go out there and do what you want to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's the best league in the world, so it can be, easy to kind of like hype stuff up in your head and overdo things. And I feel like you'll see that a lot with guys early on in their career where they try to do a little bit too much instead of just, really being grounded in who they are as a pitcher or a player, whichever it may be. I feel like they just do a really good job here of just being like, hey, you're good enough right now. Just go play your game.
Was there a point in the last, month and a half that you feel, or almost 2 months, that you feel like, okay, that's when it was kind of like, yeah, I can do this up here?
I mean, I think it was just like from my second outing on. I think the first one was tough. It was tough circumstances. I was in the pen the first 2 nights, kind of like ready to go. And then they were like, okay, you're going to start the third game. It's freezing cold. Couldn't really feel my hand. Couldn't feel the ball. But yeah, from that point on, it was just like I just felt pretty comfortable out there, as comfortable as you can in the big leagues, But yeah, just from that second outing on, it was just like just attack the hitters. Sometimes you got to just let them get themselves out, or if you get into the position to make some pitches to punch them out, you go do that.
How much has the ability of your defenders behind you helped you been able to just attack like you want to?
Oh, so much. I mean, when you got guys like our infield and outfield that can just track, almost every ball down, it just allows you to just pound the zone, put the pressure on their lineup, force them to make decisions. And I feel like, just overall, it just allows you to just attack their lineup without any fear of like what could happen. I think it's a huge advantage for our pitchers.
What do you think of what your teammate coming over from Boston, Kyle Harrison, has done so far this season?
Unbelievable, man. I mean, I always knew it was in there. We were roommates in Worcester last year. I was hurt in Florida, like when the trade happened, when he got traded over. And then when I, healed up and got back up to Worcester, we were roommates up there. Just to see, what he went through with Boston there. I felt like he didn't really get a fair shot, but just, he just kept his head down and just continued to work. And you see the results from the work now. I mean, couldn't happen to a better person. He's just a stud, man.
Mm-hmm. Shane, really appreciate the time. Thanks so much.
No problem. Anytime.
There he is, Shane Drowan, and he is going to be starting for the Milwaukee Brewers tonight. And just wanted to kind of pick his brain a little bit about, we hear a lot about pitching coaches. We hear a lot about the Brewers organization, what they're able to do with their pitchers. And it's fun to hear it from kind of the horse's mouth, so to speak, right? The guys who are in it every single day. You're listening to the Baseball Pregame Show here on WOKY AM Milwaukee. Appreciate you tuning in on this Monday night. Hope you had a good Monday. Weather seems to be pretty good. Let's take a look at what the Giants have to offer on the mound tonight. And his name is Landon Roop. As I mentioned, 5-5, a 3.30 ERA. It's his third year in the big leagues. He made 22 starts last year. This is his 12th start this year. Now, his May was so-so. 4.38 ERA in May for Roop. He made 5 starts, and the Giants lost every single one of them. Now, he himself was 0-4, and then they also lost a game in which they had 1 out to get, and then the Diamondbacks came back and beat them. So it's just been that kind of year for the San Francisco Giants for sure. But his last time out was last Monday. Last Monday, went 5 innings, 2 earned runs, 1 walk, 7 Ks. So pretty good in that start for the Giants. The one previous to that, 6 innings, 1 earned run at Arizona. And that was the one Arizona ended up actually coming back and winning that game late in the ball game. But he it's been a so-so, not awful. I mean, he's a right-handed pitcher, and we'll see what he does tonight against the Brewers lineup. Let's see here. Boss Dobler, appreciate you chiming in, I should say. Still want, yeah, I know. You want, still wants the Nashville folks coming up. He says the current team's offensive scraping by will not work come playoff time. Send down or trade Mitchell, Frelick, or Rengifo. Bring up Pratt, Jett, Lara, and play them every day and keep Bowers in right field. Yeah, Bowers made his first start in right field over the weekend of the season and played a handful of games there last year. So it's been, when it comes to Jake Bowers in right field, maybe you see that a little more with Frelick slumping. But Boss Dobler says you don't win championships by happenstance. You work at it and make it happen. Appreciate your comments there. And then Lex says, unless there are injuries, I think Perkins and Rengifo are the only ones going anywhere. I think it would be Lockridge and Pratt when they are ready. It is the big question. And honestly, it's what we are talking about as reporters as well. Like walking into the ballpark today, I'm talking with people about what are they going to do? Are they going to do something with the left side of the infield? I mean, it's June now. Like Adam McCalvey, MLB.com, just wrote a piece about, okay, it's June. Like, will they end up calling one of these guys up? Jet Williams doesn't have a 40-man spot, but, obviously you maneuver to what you want to do. But he kind of maybe fits the mold of this team the most right now and could really help you at third base. And then you can still see if Joey's got any more offensively and keep him for his defense. And David Hamilton could be your utility man. And in that case, Luis Rengifo is probably the odd man out. Or do you say, all right, we paid Pratt the big bucks. He's the one coming up, and throw him at shortstop majority of the time. And Ortiz becomes kind of a in and out guy, and is Hamilton the odd man out? I just don't see Hamilton being the odd man out. I think they're kind of invested and he's part of that trade. And I just don't see them necessarily giving up after 2 months of that, of him. Now, I do think Jet Williams can kind of do what Caleb Durbin did last year and come up, and will he be as good as Caleb Durbin was? I'm not sure, but I think he could definitely be up there as far as just kind of that scrappy guy who's going to do whatever it takes to win. So I'd be excited to see him up here. And Luis Lara is a fascinating one as well. Like, the thing about Lara, I said this on the huddle this morning, like, they want him to play every day if he comes up. But is he really going to take Sal Frelick's spot after 2 bad months of Frelick? Like, I don't think they're there yet as an organization. This is a guy who was competing for an NL batting title last year, who hit 288 last year. And I don't think 2 months decide his fate, especially, Pat Murphy, we all know, loves him. He's a winner. He's giving you something defensively. So I think it is, and look, we can take stock again at July 1st. I said coming into the season, give Ortiz to Memorial Day. Ortiz still offensively has not given you very much. So, by my standard there, I say, okay, I'd be okay with a move. I'd be really okay with any of these moves. I don't know if I'd be okay with a Frelick demotion yet, though. I just don't think I think I trust that guy, the competitor, the type of guy he is, that he's going to break out of that. As good as Lara's playing, I know. And the tough part is, like, is Lara one of your best outfielders right now in the organization? Is he better than Blake Perkins right now? Probably. But again, you don't want to ruin the development there if you need him in years to come. So it's really, that's kind of where this is, especially with kind of like with a guy like Pratt too. Like, if you want to bring up Pratt, you want him to play every day. Jet, I would think kind of the same way. So you have to make a significant move from a team that just went 19-7 and had the best record in baseball in May. That's the part. If they were losing, this would be quite a different conversation, I think. But they're winning a lot. Like, a lot. They just went 19-7 in May. Of course we want to make improvements to the team. And last year you felt like you had pretty much come July, 1 through 8, you had a really solid lineup. And then, Joey Ortiz, you got what you got. This year, you're 1 through 6, especially on a night like tonight, where you have Yelich in there, and you have Churio in there, and you have Contreras in there, and you have Bowers in there, you have Vaughn in there, and you have Terang in there. Like, you have all your 6 guys. Offensively, your top 6 are in the lineup. That is really good. But then it significantly drops off when you talk about Frelick, Rengifo, and Hamilton. There was not that dramatic drop-off last year, and that's part of the reason the team won 97 games. So it'll be interesting to see how this goes as we get deeper. And if the offense struggles, kind of like it did in Houston over the weekend, okay, maybe that's a sign. Also, though, as I've said, and I said it a couple weeks ago, I'll say it again. If the defense of Rengifo, Ortiz, and Hamilton deteriorates, that is when I think you will see a move sooner rather than later. And Rengifo made another error over the weekend. So something to keep in mind there. Just something to keep in mind. All right, when we come back, we'll give you the lineup one more time and take a look at that offense a little bit. What's Bryce Terang doing? He hasn't been hitting as well. Pat Murphy commented on that today. We'll get into a little bit of Willie Adames conversation, a couple of fast facts you need to know, and a bullpen report. Oh, boy, we'll try to squeeze it all in coming up next. It's the Baseball Pregame Show presented by Import Minded. I'm Hunter Baumgardt on Fox Sports 920.
Milwaukee takes the field in a matter of minutes. It's time to take a look at tonight's lineup on the Baseball Pregame Show, presented by Import Minded, your trusted choice for exceptional vehicle care on South 27th, just north of 894. Here's Hunter Baumgardt.
Brewers and Giants over at American Family Field, 6:40 first pitch tonight. 6:40 first pitch tomorrow. I'll have you for the Baseball Pregame Show, 5:30 until 6:30 tomorrow. The guys will react to everything in the morning on the Huddle with Drew, Billy, and Armin. And that'll be at 5 a.m. tomorrow. And make sure to tell your friends. Tell your friends we got the Huddle. Tell your friends we got the Baseball Pregame Show. Just tell your friends, okay? Tell your friends. Also, we've got coming up on Wednesday, we've got, of course, the Baseball Pregame Show again. This is a 4-game series, so 3 straight 6:40 games, and then a 1:10 afternoon game on Thursday. And I'll have you for Milwaukee baseball tonight from 6 until 7 on Thursday. Wanted to check in on a couple players. We mentioned Sal Frelick before the break. Average of 214 on the season. He's 3 for his last 20, and he hit 288 a year ago. He only had 2 multi-hit games in May. Just one of those guys that needs to get going. Bryce Terang also, though, in his last 15 games, he's hitting 170. And he obviously got off to the torrid start, talking about being kind of talking about he didn't necessarily, but we did, talking about the superstar that he could be and the way he's emerging, as Pat Murphy referenced today when talking about Bryce Terang. But Terang 1 for 23 in his last 7 games, and 0 for his last 19 at the plate. So we'll see. I don't think Terang is going to be in this slump for very much longer because of what we know his capabilities to be. But those numbers are a little eye-popping when you say batting average of 170 in 15 games and 0 for his last 19, and not someone you necessarily would think would have that, but he's been consistently in that lineup, and we'll see him again tonight for the Milwaukee Brewers. Let's get to that lineup here, get you the lineup for the Giants and the lineup for the Brewers as we start here a 4-game series. Giants are going to be lining up like this. Leading off in left field, Casey Schmidt. Batting second as the DH, Rafael Devers. Batting third at third base, Luis Arraez. Cleanup hitter, the shortstop, the former Brewer, Willie Adames. Batting fifth in right field, Young-Hoo Lee. Batting sixth at third base, Matt Chapman. Batting seventh at first base, Bryce Eldridge. Batting eighth behind the plate, the former Brewer, Eric Haas. Batting ninth in center field is Jonah Cox. For the Giants, it's Schmidt, Devers, Arraez, Adames, Hooley, Chapman, Eldridge, Haas, and Cox. For the Milwaukee Brewers, they are going to line up like this. They come into tonight with a record 35-21 on the season, a 4.5-game lead on the Cardinals in the NL Central. Leading off as the DH, Christian Yelich. Batting second in center field, Jackson Churiel. Batting third at second base, the aforementioned Bryce Terang. Cleanup hitter, the catcher, William Contreras. Batting fifth in left field, Jake Bowers. Batting sixth at first base, Andrew Vaughn. Batting seventh in right field, Sal Frelick. Batting eighth at third base, Luis Rengifo. And batting ninth at shortstop is David Hamilton. For the Brewers, it's Yelich, Churiel, Terang, Contreras, Bowers, Vaughn, Frelick, Rengifo, and Hamilton. So let's get to the bullpen report. The bullpen report, as I do each and every night, gives you who could be available tonight in what situations. So McGill and Uribe both worked 2 out of the 3 games in Houston. I mean, it was the 2 wins, right? Uribe was the guy in the 9th inning on Friday night, and then McGill with the save in the 10th. Uribe was the guy in the 8th inning after Mizorowski yesterday. McGill with the save in the 9th. So you have those 2 guys who worked both Friday and Sunday. Maybe they are available tonight, but wouldn't be surprised if one, if not both, wouldn't pitch tonight. So they may have to go to something different if they're in a save situation. But the rest of the bullpen is really fresh, and here's what I mean. Aaron Ashby, DL Hall, Grant Anderson have not pitched since Friday, and Hall pitched the most, 36 pitches, so maybe he doesn't pitch, but he could be there in a short stint tonight. Rob Z has not pitched since coming off the IL yesterday. Jake Woodford threw 9 pitches on Saturday, so he could be available in a blowout situation, most likely. And then Chad Patrick is the interesting one. He threw 61 pitches last Wednesday. So, obviously in that bullpen game that he started against the St. Louis Cardinals in that series finale, threw 61 pitches. I wouldn't be surprised if they're kind of targeting him for maybe the start on Wednesday or Thursday. Maybe Coleman Crowe is that guy. Pat Murphy was very non-committal today when talking about who could pitch whether it's Brandon Sproat as well. I mean, Sproat could be the earliest he could throw would be Thursday because of the 4 days of rest. Right? Yeah, because he threw Saturday. So the 4 days would get him to Thursday. Coleman Crow, 4 days would get him to Wednesday. But maybe you say, okay, let's put Chad on Wednesday and Crow on Thursday, and then Sproat possibly on Friday in Colorado. And then you go from there. And then maybe you have Miz on Saturday in Colorado. That's kind of maybe in my mind how they'll go with it. Again, this is just conjecture at this point, but maybe a Chad Patrick Wednesday, a Coleman Crow Thursday, a Sproat on Friday, and Miz Rowski on Saturday. Who knows? But with Chad Patrick, again, throwing 61 pitches last Wednesday, I do wonder if maybe he'd get on the mound for an inning or two or something just to, if he's going to throw a bullpen anyway, maybe it's in the game. I don't know. But they also have a TBA on Wednesday as far as the starting pitcher and a TBA on Thursday. So maybe, again, they are targeting one of those days in case maybe he's not available. So in that case, maybe he wouldn't be available. But pretty fresh overall. But your leverage guys, McGill and Uribe, pitched yesterday. They pitched Friday. I do wonder what exactly that would be. I wonder what type of availability they are going to have. Willie Adames was out there pregame, saw him, dapping up his former teammates. This is what Pat Murphy had to say about him earlier today.
Great people in the game. Willie's one of them. It's a big part of Brewer history. It's undeniable how much he did for this organization. Just the way he handled himself, the way he posted every day, the way he performed. I mean, how many years was he here?
Parts of 4, I think.
But it seems like 14. You know what I mean? Like he just had a great presence, revered.
So there you go. Pat Murphy talking about Willie Adames, who's the cleanup hitter for the Giants tonight. All right, a fast fact for you to know, to be a little smarter as you watch tonight's game. How about this? It's the first time ever that the National League Central is heading into June with everybody over 500. It's the 7th division in Major League Baseball history to have that heading into June. Thanks so much for listening. Baseball Pregame Show tomorrow at 5:30. Follow me on socials at Hunter B on Air. It's the Baseball Pregame Show on Fox Sports 920. Have a great night.